and welcome to Constangy TV's Close Up on Workplace Law, where we zoom in on recent developments of interest to employers, to their lawyers, and to their human resources professionals. I'm your host, Leigh Tyson, and I am an attorney in Constangy's Atlanta office. So, workplace harassment. Workplace harassment is always going to be a problem, and it is always going to be something that keeps employers up at night. So here to talk to us today is Robin Shea. Robin is a partner in our Winston-Salem office, and she has been practicing employment law for 25 years. And in addition to that, she is also the very, very celebrated author and editor of Constangy's blog, The Employment and Labor Insider. And beyond that, she is also the editor and director and producer of this particular show. So it is really nice to have her on the camera with me as opposed to just behind it. So Robin, welcome.
Well, thank you, Leigh. I'm the Orson Welles, right? And congratulations to you on your appointment as co-chair of our firm's labor practice group.
Well, thank you so much. I'm going to be a little bit busy.
Yeah, gosh, being a TV star and a practice group head both at once.
I wear a lot of hats. What can I say? But speaking of practice, we were just talking about some good guidelines, and now I understand that you have some best practices. What kind of best practices would you recommend, and did you come up with these yourself?
Well, yes and no. I've been preaching about these practices for a long time, but I feel like I've got some vindication now because the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission recently came out with guidance that was very similar to what I've been recommending for years. And I think employers may be more likely to listen to the EEOC than to me, so we'll call this the EEOC's guidance.
I think they probably should listen to you too. Let's start with prevention. Let's go there first. What do you think employers should be doing as far as preventing incidences of workplace harassment?
Well, first they need to have a policy in plain language, no legalese. They need to make that policy available in the languages that all of their employees understand. The other issue is the complaint procedure, and it should be accessible to employees. So my favorite type of policy would allow an employee to make a harassment complaint to any member of management.
Are there any other preventative steps that you think employers should be taking?
Yes, I think training is a must, and it should be conducted for management, and also I'd recommend it for employees on a regular basis, about once a year for both. The EEOC prefers that the training be live and interactive, and I agree with that because it gives employees a chance to ask questions and get answers right there on the spot. And the employee training can be pretty short and sweet. The main points you need to cover are what harassment is, that it isn't tolerated, how to make a complaint, and that the company won't retaliate. Management training would, of course, include all those things, but it would also include specific guidance on how to handle a harassment complaint from an employee.
Okay, going back to what you just said about the recommendation that training be live and interactive. Having done lots of this myself, I can guarantee you that the more interactive, the better. I frequently bribe my trainees with food and snacks. That notwithstanding, it's certainly not always.
I want to go to your training.
It's the best way. But it's certainly not always possible to have live and interactive training.
Yeah, I agree. And, depending on the circumstances of the employer, you may have to do something else. In a retail situation where you do have people scattered all over the United States in small facilities, the best option may be to do some interactive online training. And generally, I would say video is the least effective because it is a passive experience. But you can make video work if you can follow up with a conference call or a live meeting where you can actually take questions and have some discussion.
What about people who are in a gray area? Not everybody's a supervisor, but you may have team leads that they're not really supervisors, they're not really employees. What about those folks?
That is a great point. In my opinion, team leaders should be included in management training. If the employer really wants to keep the team leaders or group leaders separate from management, I'd say give them their own session, but cover the same content that you would cover in a management meeting. And the reason for that, I'm sure you're very aware of this, is especially on off shifts like third shift, There may not even be a supervisor on duty, and the only person there who's any kind of an authority figure is the group lead, and that's the person who's going to get the harassment complaints.
What should an employer be mindful of in conducting an investigation?
First, the person conducting the investigation should be unbiased. For example, if Mary accuses her supervisor of sexual harassment, we don't want the supervisor being the person who conducts the investigation, or the supervisor's boss, or the supervisor's best friend. It should probably be somebody who's not as attached to that supervisor. You want somebody with a sufficient level of authority to really be able to do what needs to be done, depending on how the investigation turns out.
What else do you recommend?
This one seems painfully obvious, but the person conducting the investigation should know something about conducting workplace investigations. The ideal person would be somebody in HR or whoever handles HR functions for the company. It could also be the company's in-house counsel. Sometimes companies bring in outside counsel, as we know, to conduct these investigations. And the ideal investigation, of course, is going to be fair to both parties, the accuser and the accused. It preserves confidentiality as much as possible, and it results in the appropriate action being taken based on the circumstances.
What about retaliation?
All harassment training should include a component on retaliation. The concept should be explained to managers and supervisors, but it should also be explained to employees.
Well, thank you so much, Robin, for all of this information. It goes a lot further than just the basics that most of us are familiar with. So thank you. We appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me, Leigh.
And that's it for this edition of Close Up on Workplace Law. I'm Leigh Tyson. Thank you so much for coming and joining us today, and hope to see you again next time. Bye-bye.